Think so.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Overprepared DM YouTube video, not podcast. Hi, I'm Jen. You guys have been listening to my voice for over 3 years on the Overprepared DM podcast, and now you get to see my face with a bunch of other wonderful content creators and actors to tell a really fun story. But yeah, I'm Jen. You guys know who I am, but I want everyone else to say who they are. I will go to you.
Hi, I'm Thick Thighs. You could also call me Kale if you would like to. And I'm playing Oighear, which is a Tabaxi sorcerer.
Oh, and I forgot who I'm playing. Hi, I'm Mandy, and I am playing Emmy Glimmerbrook, who is a wood elf cleric.
Heck yeah.
Is it me?
It's you.
It's me. Hi, I'm Concho Dreamer. I am playing the full orc blood hunter Koresh.
Heck yeah.
I am Austin. I am playing Granny, the Loxodon Druid.
And last
And
but
hi, I'm
not
Sai
least.
Jean. Oh,
Sorry, I ruined everything!
It's okay.
Last
Hi,
but not
I'm
least.
Sai Jean. I'm playing Kanna Rhino, the arcane trickster rogue.
Heck yeah. And we're going to do a session 0. One of the things that I press so hard on the podcast is never forget to do a session 0, to the point where we sign off on all of our emails and messages with that staying as well. So I figured instead of doing the session 0 behind closed doors, we could do it out for everybody in case you're wondering, what the heck is that? What kind of questions do I ask and things like that. So I did do a personal character session with each of the people on screen, where we talked about their backstory, a couple secrets, a couple friends and enemies, interests, romance, all that stuff. So just trying to make the characters feel more involved with the world through a little backstory and a lot of detail. And this one is a little bit more team building. So I want to start off with just one thing from everybody. What is something that you love about tabletop RPGs? And anyone can go first. Just chatting about it, though. What is something that you love about TTRPGs? One thing.
I like how intimate they are. And I don't mean like intimate as in like romantic intimate. I like how it is very much like a group of usually adults get together and like, and it's weird because like I'm gonna pull this to tarot. One of the things that is a recurring thing in tarot is connecting with your like inner child. And for me, that's like the ultimate thing. Like they're coming together, they're reconnecting to that like fantasy and imagination they had. And regardless of the kind of game that it is, it's usually just like silly fun, and you're being like quirky and closer to how you were as a kid than instead of being like cynical adult all the time. You know?
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
I like that you kind of get to go from like nothing to something that feels real. Like you try to make it feel as real as possible and like just fully fleshed out. And I like that process.
Yeah.
It's a good like creative outlet too, because you can always
Yeah.
change it. Everything's ever changing and dynamic. So
That's true.
I
That's
think like
part of what I like too is you can go ahead.
I was gonna say I think I like building on all that too. Like it's really fun getting to watch people as walls continue to break down as you play.
Yeah.
And just that group of comfort and seeing people continue to grow and like bloom into like, okay, now I see you like fully buying into the world, and it's really fun going on that journey with everyone.
Yeah. Totally.
I just love that, like, when it, if I'm trying to come up with something creative on my own, I don't have the outside things to kind of throw a wrench in it for me, and I think that's what makes stuff really interesting. So having all the other players having their own ideas makes for a more exciting situation for me than if I'm reading a book or something.
it's a fun group project.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Totally. I think for me, I really like how it kind of brings a group of people together and kind of creates like a really cool little friend group out of it. And you bond with people, you get to share laughs with people, whether it's online or at the table. And I love seeing those bonds and that friendship grow between a group of storytellers.
Yeah. Totally. No, that's so fair. I think my favorite thing about TTRPGs is just being silly and making fun voices and telling outrageous stories that somehow fall together into an overarching plot. And every day is different, every mood is different. I love like really sitting in the sadness and really laughing about the good times. And I love telling stories with a group. And I love my secret favorite thing is that I love when the players write the story for me. There's a trope amongst dungeon masters where if you give someone a puzzle and you don't have a plan for it, the players will tell you the answer, and it's the greatest thing. But
I
what
love
are
puzzle games.
yeah? So speaking of puzzles,
ready.
speaking of puzzles, what are you most excited about? Do you like combat, exploration, puzzles, role play? Like, what's your favorite? Like, what are you most excited for?
Role
I'm
play.
excited for more RP because I feel like I've done like dipping toes into RP, but I'm excited because I think we're all kind of on board for like that being a thing. And focusing on that, so I'm excited for that and seeing. I don't know this character because I've been doing this for months. At least I have been developing this character for months, and so kind of getting to see like how her relationships are going to get to develop with the individual characters, with NPCs, different things like that, and just kind of see how the reality of what we do interacts with the daydream in my brain of how things could play out. Is exciting to see, and exciting to see like. What will I actually do on my toes? Because I won't know what's coming.
Right. I'm excited.
I'm on the opposite side of that where I have literally like I have the most bare bones ideas of story stuff for my character. Rest of it's just like I'm gonna see where it goes and I'm just gonna yes and we're gonna get there eventually.
I love that though.
Because
It's
I don't
the
know.
simmer
That's
in me though.
Yeah.
that's
I gotta create something out of nothing and control it all.
but that's part of the RP that I love of going to have a conversation with someone and they say something and my brain fully goes, that's not a part of my story at all, but let's yes and the hell out of that and just keep going with it. And I love it so much.
Heck yeah.
I
also think I'm
RP in the
excited
sense-
that like we know each other but don't know each other super well. Or at least I don't know you guys super well. So like it leaves a lot of unknowns out there.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about RP, because when I first started doing D&D, I was very much like, I like throwing dice and dice is fun and I like numbers happening. And I realized that I actually, not that I don't mind combat, I just prefer, and I guess like this is also puzzles, figuring out how to avoid it altogether. Because with one of my favorite characters that I've made so far, they're a bard, and the amount of combat situations that I have weaved us out of simply out of charisma alone, both charisma rolls and being charismatic with the character alone, is what the fun part about it is. Because then everyone's like, "Aw, we thought we were gonna fight." I was just like, "Well, you thought you were going to fight. Well, I got all the answers and 20 goals, and they're in love with me. So I think it's a win for me." So.
But when the
Amazing.
bloodlust hits,
Yeah.
it hits hard and I'm ready to just like throw dice.
How you gonna get XP?
True.
Oh right, are we doing
why
XP?
have XP
No, we're
when
doing
have-
milestone.
No.
Okay.
You're like, wait a minute.
Personal
so
growth and
Baldur's Gate
development.
killed, you know?
That's
Yeah,
the XP.
good old
That's the
Baldur's
answer, yeah.
Gate. We could kill all the
Everything
animals
is an
along the
XP.
way and grind out a level before the next town. No, it's milestone for sure.
Can't do that. Even in Baldur's Gate, I couldn't do it. Not an animal was harmed.
Baldur's Gate gives you sort of the same thing that a lot of DMs will do, though, where like you get the XP sort of no matter what way you go about it. And if you are completionist, you don't get bonus XP for like sparing them and then killing them.
Yeah.
Like you get it the one time. So I think milestone is good because that sort of thing you end up just like, well, we should kill these people for the
For the
loot and
XP. Yeah, no.
that we'd get
Like
anyway.
grinding out Pokemon, you're just like, okay, so I'm sorry, Rattata, you are adorable in purple, but
Get
for my
Alas.
wrecked.
benefit, you must die.
I also don't think I've ever gotten rid of like a Pokemon that I've caught.
Yeah.
I get very attached to
never.
things.
My PC is
I don't
so
think
full.
they are all
Yeah, so
in the
full.
bin of the multiple things.
You live
I'm
here now.
lazy.
You live here now.
Yeah. Saya, Austin, what are you guys excited for? Most excited for, rather.
I mean, outside of RP, which we've talked about, I do like puzzles. I'm very much the escape room kind of person. But yeah, it is really the RP that I'm looking forward to. I have a lot of games that I play outside, and my friends are more tabletop game focused and strategy, which I love strategy, but I do enjoy the RP side a lot. So it'll be fun to do that with some new people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm just excited to be here. Genuinely, this is my first real campaign in D&D. I do play Candela Obscura, so like I've played some tabletop games before, but this is my first D&D campaign after watching it for a couple years and really getting excited about playing D&D, and I'm just really thankful to be here. So yeah, that's what I'm excited
That's
for.
like a perfect segue into my next question, which is how long we've all been playing D&D.
0 days.
0 days for Saya. That is literally so cool.
That's so exciting.
And I've
Mine's on
been
and
personally
off.
playing since 2007. So I've been playing forever. I've been a dungeon master, the forever DM, since 2011. And it wasn't until I started streaming Dungeons and Dragons in 2020 where I started playing games again. So for years, I only ran games. And this is actually the first game that I'm running and or playing in about a year. So I took a long break, and I'm very excited to come back with such a wonderful group of my friends. So it's gonna be a blast. But what about you, Vicky?
I was doing the math in my head, which is why I looked like I was having an existential crisis. I think the first time I ever did anything remotely like TTRPG was in 2011.
Okay.
Because I had a friend who, in our mall area before it got bought out, they had an area where you could just go in there, and as long as you brought your stuff and cleaned it up, you could do whatever you want. So every Sunday they would have like, not exactly D&D stuff, but D&D and then other like card games and board games and kind of things. And I did that on and off until COVID. And then in 2020, that's when I fully was just like, okay, I'm going to commit to a singular group where it's not just like a little one-off thing, like we're actually doing sessions. So for the past 4 years, I've been actually doing like actual like session-to-session groups.
That's fun.
Mm-hmm.
With the same group, the same game, all 4 years?
Yeah.
Whoa!
Yeah, well, not the same one. We beat Descent to Avernus 2020 to 2022.
Amazing.
And then we just beat the Storm King's Thunder a week and a half ago.
Wow.
Played that one. That one's fun.
That one's fun. That's really cool. That's like a treasure. You never find groups that last 6 months.
It's like a good band, you know.
I
that
don't want to
actually
brag about my
gels.
character, but like my bard, Kitfree, my DM was unsuccessful in killing them for 4 years.
I
and
love
he
this.
finally ascended them so he could give me an
Ascended.
excuse to be like, you're benching that character. You're making a new one.
They have been
I am tired of-
ascended. That's so funny.
Because this is, for those who know bards, like,
Uh-huh.
I'm talking, I have 160 hit points. I have 19 armor class. Like,
Calm
he's like,
down.
I am so tired of this person.
That is
like,
disgusting.
I would
and
also
he
ascend your
goes off
character.
of hoo-ha. And he's just like, I regret letting you continue to play with this character because I think I'm unkillable.
Oh my goodness. Mandy, how long have you been playing D&D?
Newer to the D&D world. I think it was probably like a year and a half ago. I don't know the exact date. I got asked to do a charity one-shot, and that was the first time I'd ever played and had a blast with that. And then I've done a couple one-shots since then. I've had a couple campaigns that fizzled out pretty quickly. But yeah, I'm relatively new, but then I kind of just like dove all in.
Heck yeah.
Like I started watching D&D. I started binging. I'm a binger. I binge
Yeah.
a lot of campaigns. But yeah, I'm fairly new.
Awesome. Contra, how long have you been playing?
I feel like I started around 2014, 2015, I think. But that started with a homebrew 5e like Marvel world where I had meat powers. And it's exactly what it sounds like, where I could
Meat
shoot
powers?
meat. Yeah, it wasn't
Okay,
my
Lady Gaga.
choice. It was given to me. So that
Giving
started
ravening
it.
war.
I love this. I love this.
Crown of candy.
Um, So that started the journey, and then I didn't really play again until around 2020, because like a lot of us, lockdowns happened, all of that. My partner started watching Critical Role because she heard about it and started putting it on and fell in love and continued down the path. So like since 2020, kind of off and on. But yeah, it's like the funny thing is I keep saying that I'm gonna stop doing D&D stuff on streams and videos because it's supposed to be like a just me hobby, and yet I keep
And
finding
here we
myself saying
are.
yes to things because it's too good to say no. So yeah.
Valid. Austin, what about you?
It's hard for me to really pinpoint. I think 4th edition D&D is where I started playing, just with like an online group and sort of a forum type setup.
Yeah.
And then for a long time, I didn't really play until I met a group through my husband's college. And we played together for years and years and years. I mostly DM'd. I played like as a player once with them. But we play mostly Pathfinder. So 5th edition, I play on and off. I prefer the D&D roleplay because it can come out more than it can in Pathfinder. But most of my experience is probably in Pathfinder at this point.
Yeah, for sure. And there is a ton of overlap between Pathfinder and D&D, and
Yeah.
I've definitely caught people saying like will saves instead of wisdom
That's me.
saves,
It's
things
gonna
like that. So
happen
it's gonna
over and
happen.
over.
It's okay. I have a basic knowledge. We can figure this out.
It mostly fits together.
Yeah, it's like a little puzzle piece, but you kind of smushed it, you
You're
know, when you're
smushing
like,
it,
this
smashing
goes
it in
here.
Goes in the square hole.
Oh, no.
Did you guys see that video?
Where does the triangle
No,
go?
that's right.
That's
the
right, it
square
goes in the
hole.
square hole.
I'm so done.
She's just like devastated the whole time.
And Saya being our newest player to D&D, this all just highlights the fact that having varying experiences with D&D brings a lot of like just nuance and new ideas and stuff to the table. Something that an old coot like me playing D&D, I might not think of things that Saya would think of because I'm so ingrained in the rules, things like this. But okay, so I just wanted to chat about those things. I think
Are you
they're
a
fun.
rules lawyer?
No,
Oh my
actually. And in
God.
fact, one of the things we're going to talk about
object.
is rules. But the first thing that I wanted to talk about, which is important if you're playing online and in game, is whether or not people should use their phone, whether they should drink alcohol, or whether they should eat. And I think one thing about in-person versus online is that eating is a lot more noticeable. So we'll definitely take breaks, but if you like need to eat, please eat, but also maybe we could eat during breaks sort of thing. I don't want to tell you not to eat food, but try to eat before, try to eat after sort of thing. Please. And if you feel compelled to use your phone, that's my fault. I did something. So like, or look at another tab or something. I know we all have ADHD, but also. What's up?
I'm using notes.
That's allowed.
on my
That's
phone.
allowed.
So I am using my phone, but it's because I really don't want to type, and I am still like a Gen Z millennial cusp. So I like my phone.
That is allowed. What I don't want is when
Using
someone
devices while engaged is different than
Yes,
distracted.
100%. What I don't want is someone to feel like they're not engaged with something else that's happening, but that they're not totally involved in. Because one of the other great things about D&D is hyping up the rest of the party and what they're doing. So try to be as engaged as possible. If you find that you want to like get on your phone or do something else, we can do something else. We can break for the month and come back another time. But yeah, so, okay, you mentioned rules and things like that. So on that note, how much time should we spend? We can agree on this. How much time should we spend to check a rule if we have a question of ruling?
To me, it depends how significant it is.
Okay, give me an
Like,
example.
If it's like, oh, how much fall damage is it? I'm falling 10 feet. It's like, what if we can't find it for 10 minutes? Like, you're maybe taking 6 points of damage at most. Like,
Right.
I don't know. But if it's, does counterspell work on this very pivotal moment,
Mhm.
maybe we spend a little longer on that.
Sure. Okay, I can agree with that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if it's gonna be a like determining factor in a very big pivotal point, that's where a little bit I turn into like, okay, let's double and triple
What does it
check
actually
this.
say, sort of thing.
Yeah,
Totally. I'm down
and
for
then
that.
decide like, okay, let's maybe do it this way or whatnot. But yeah, as long as it's not a huge pivotal, like this one decision can determine if your entire party bends the will of the king or blah 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 blah. It's like, okay.
Right. Then we should probably look it up. I agree with that.
Yeah, and I think shorter on the ones that aren't as important because you don't want to lose like that motivation or
Right.
that, like the ball that's rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very much the type of DM that just sort of makes a ruling. And if it's wrong, we can talk about it later. But I definitely
Right.
don't want to have that budding argument of being like, no, that's actually not what it says. I'm like, I don't care. Let's move on because
Yeah.
we're in the momentum. We'll just clock it and talk about it later and then rule it differently going forward. Just because that's how I prefer to handle most conflict, in fact. Like if something weird happens throughout the game or if something happens, clock it, talk to me about it later, and we'll fix it going forward. But also, if it is something that's going to make you like raise your safety card, I want to talk about it immediately. So it's obviously dependent. Another sort of rule thing is how much meta knowledge can there be from overlapping you and your knowledge of Dungeons and Dragons to your character. I get really upset with meta knowledge, so I want you to try so hard to just be your character. What would your character know in this moment? I don't care that you know the defense of every monster in the monster manual. What does your character know? So like don't let it stop you from doing like a lightning attack or something if it's resistant to lightning, because then that would be the moment that your character would find out, not you
Right.
and your meta knowledge. So try to make some fails and like turn them into knowledge for your character.
Do you have something, say in that situation?
Okay.
Is there a check or something we can make in combat just going into things like, I haven't seen one of these before. Do I know anything about this kind of creature? Like we haven't encountered one yet. Like has my character run into this? Is there a roll that we make for that? Or do
So I
we
have a
just like,
couple suggestions that I've made in the past that I've been happy with. I had someone who had Hunter's Mark, and I gave them information every time they cast Hunter's Mark. And there's a couple other spells like that sort of are like Hex. There's True Shot. There's another spell that I can't think of at the top of my head that is literally an information spell. What's that spell?
Identify?
One of mine is True
Identify,
Strike.
yes. True Strike, so then yes. Like those sort of single target spells that give you something later, I want to like give you that information through that spell. However, if your character has let's say proficiency in animal handling or a history with other animals, and you can have a story reason to have a knowledge about this, I'll have you roll probably animal or history checks or whatever the case might be. Like, let's say we're fighting the royal court. I'm assuming that someone who is famous would be able to be like, do I know the people in this room? And I'd be like, let's roll a history check to see if you remember sort of things. So at the end of the day, you can always ask, and we'll figure it out, because I don't like to say no, but sometimes people ask from a point of just wanting an advantage versus something that their character would actually know. So depending on that, I'm down to work with someone who's asking for a little more information.
okay.
So for me, I don't have meta knowledge.
Yeah, and sometimes
In
you don't
general,
have meta knowledge.
I don't have it as me, Mandy. So I guess if there was anything that you would think that my character should think she knows, it would be a good thing for you to be like, you might recognize this at like.
I am happy to do
give
that.
The meta knowledge
Absolutely.
that my character might have, because I don't have it.
Yeah, and with newer players in the game, that is something that I normally do anyway. So I'm happy to extend that to the group too. Like if you don't ask me and I think they should know this, I'll bring it up.
Yep.
Totally. Okay. Okay, so then the next thing that I have is sort of on the topic of roleplay. Do we want the game... we've already kind of talked about the theme of the game and how it's going to be a little bit dramatic and comedic, but do you have a personal preference of like where it should default? Where it, like, in the middle, should it default a little more serious? Should it default a little silly? Is like, if you had multiple silly encounters back to back, would you stop having fun, sort of thing? Or if you had multiple serious encounters back to back, would you feel stressed and not having fun anymore? You might not know until it happens, but it is something good to think about.
Steve,
it
that one,
depends.
yeah.
Okay.
Because like I feel like it's one of those things where it has to meet in the middle. Because I feel like if it's too much of anything, it would just be hard. Because like if it's always super serious, I'm just like, I need some levity. But if it's always comedic, I'm just like, okay, now it's just
a silly
getting a little crazy. Like, and then I feel like with especially with comedic stuff, since comedy thrives in vagueness, I'm just like, I feel like we might lose the story if it becomes too funny. Because then it's just like, now we're just veering off to whichever direction because humor calls for it. And then if we're too serious all the time, I'm just like, you can't build from like all this like trauma happening to a character if they don't have a moment of respite to like process.
Yeah, totally.
So I would say like if we in my personal opinion, if we did too much of any one thing, I would struggle to build my character. So I might be still having fun, but then I'd be like, okay, but what does my character do now?
Right.
Like they're just constantly getting like traumatized or dealing with silly stuff, you know?
For sure. I'm
No,
down.
I think.
I like that.
I think that's well said. The highs are high and the lows are low.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely ebb and flow in between different themes, but also, as I said, like, I love when the characters drive the story, so, like, if you guys are leaning towards something more serious, I'm gonna lean into that. I'm not gonna be like, and there's a quacking duck, or whatever, like, I'm not gonna try to throw in the gags if things are leaning that way. But if things are funny, I'm down for someone, I don't know, casting polymorph on something and, you know, being silly. It's great. So when it comes to like role playing with each other, I did tell everyone this individually, but I'll say it to the group. I do not approve. Like, something that I do not approve of is PvP. I do not like when players steal from each other for their own personal gain. Even if it's my character would do this, stealing something from the players is above table rude. People start to feel disdain and resentment for each other as players when we start to attack each other and start to throw our other fellow players under the bus. So we just don't do that. So let's say that Saya gets like the staff of the Magi. Like, the rest of you aren't going to be like, when they go to sleep, we're gonna steal it. Like, that's not fun, because then it's like, what's the point of them getting this cool thing for their character if someone else is just gonna take it? On that same vein, please do not cast spells on each other that forcibly remove them from the scene or literally take their agency away, like casting command on each other or suggestion on each other or things like that. Like, that again is sort of ruining the roleplay from someone else's side. What's up?
The one, because I know we discussed this when we were doing
Yes.
the character talks, I actually remember there was one situation where me and one of my friends on one of our other sessions, I know this is not removing them from the thing, but is it okay that in the defense of somebody who may be susceptible to mind control, we can still mind control them to defend them from something happening to them? Because there was one time where I charmed one of my teammates, and we kind of like, I guess, like discussed it, what they wanted to do beforehand. So I commanded them to do what they were already going to do, so they go into the situation incapable of being charmed because they were already charmed by me.
Well, I would talk with the rest of the group about that.
Yeah, I think that would be
you
something.
had consent,
Yeah.
so it's different.
Yeah. So it would be like, oh crap, my friend's in danger, so I'm going to remove their danger, still respecting what their character wanted to do, but this is just a safety blanket for all intents and purposes. So if it's like a moment where like you can only be in mind control, because I think that's what it is, especially with concentration spells, they have to wait for the next round to even do anything to that person. So it would be like, can we still do those kind of like spells against each other if it's to their benefit.
Austin,
Yeah,
were you going to
I-
elaborate on something?
I was just saying, if it's something that we talk about, like we know, say the big bad is somebody who's come up before and they charmed us and made us fight each other when they just left. And we, after that discuss, like in that situation, are you okay with me charming you and saying like, go about your daily, whatever you do normally, but that's your command so that you can't have that happen. I think having that happen in the characters need to talk about it, I feel like, rather than us just talk about it. Because if we talked about it and then your character charmed Granny, I'd be like, the fuck did you do that for? We didn't talk about this. Like,
Yeah.
maybe I didn't want to do that. So, yeah, I mean, I think as long as you
Kind of
have
case by
consent,
case.
yeah.
Okay.
And as long as it's truly beneficial, like, this doesn't really do anything to you. Like your example, like I charmed them, but they can still do anything. Like that
'Cause,
really
like,
is just
We
protective.
did have because I've had a situation in a previous group where we outed somebody because they kept doing that because they had main character syndrome. They wanted to be, I want this should be mine, I want this moment. So they would do that stuff to try to like remove us. So I am wary of that and I am not okay with that. But I was just thinking about it. I was just like, well, actually I've done that before, but it was not to steal the thunder. It's because strategically it made sense. Like, so I was just like, I just wanted to bring that up because I was just like, it's still technically, I guess, me doing something to a teammate because they still have to throw wisdom if I charm them. They can't be like, okay, sure, and then bam, they still have to throw wisdom or no, constitution if I remember right. So they still had to throw the roll. So I was just like, it's still technically if you squint in their PvP because I'm making them roll against me, but it was for their benefit. So I just wanted to be able to like say like, can I still do that if I know it's going to save them?
For sure.
Like it's like if you're next to the cliff, pulling you by the collar is going to hurt your neck, but I did it for your benefit kind of situation.
I mean,
Yeah,
I've done
I've
stuff like
come
that with
emotion
lightning
to room.
lure,
Oh, that's true.
And have
That too,
people in
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
or putting a target, your party member to sleep that's charmed and is running towards a cliff or something. Like, if you're saving them, you're not permanently taking them out. But if you're,
Well, I guess that's an action too. If there's a potential of them being controlled by someone else or are already being controlled by someone
Right.
else, you're doing something because they can't do anything.
Right.
I can control you.
Right.
Yeah,
I
'cause
think
was like-
it's all
'cause-
context.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
because like it's still technically incapacitating them, but I wouldn't do it in a way personally that would truly incapacitate you. But it would just be one of those moments where I'm just like, I'm kind of telling you how to control your character at that point, so I don't know if we're comfortable with that.
Right.
But I was just like, yeah.
Concho, were you going to elaborate on something?
I think it was just the whole thing about consent. I think that's where it boils down to. And then, like, I mean, keeping an eye out on what the story is, too, because I think that's the thing that keeping in mind about above table versus what's happening in game. That if it's a moment that's making sense within the story, even if it can be a negative result, I am fully the type of player that, like, I love this game because of how messy it can get. And if you're always winning and succeeding, like, that takes a little bit of the joy out of it for me, because it is about, like, oh, how do you overcome these obstacles? How do you overcome, like, bad things happening to your characters? So it is, like, just keeping an eye of consent and then just what is making sense within the story that's being told with everyone at the table.
Definitely.
Yeah, the assumption that everything's going to be sunshine and rainbows between all of our characters all of the time does not seem likely. There's
Definitely.
going to be things that are against each other a little bit, but
Yeah, I believe that inter-party conflict is very different from PvP.
Right.
Yeah.
And inter-party conflict makes great storytelling. But PvP
I think
makes...
as long as it's contextual
Yeah.
and there's some consent, so like if you see the relationship boiling to a point where like your character's gonna slap the other person's character,
Yeah.
maybe have a conversation beforehand, so
Right.
that way it's not
Yeah.
out of nowhere,
That makes
Yeah.
sense. Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad we had that conversation because that's important to like discuss the actual detail of what we care in that moment. The next thing is like narrative control, which is something that I have started doing and I really, really, really enjoy. It helps players get a little bit more involved in the story, but occasionally when I'm describing something and what it looks like, I will literally call on somebody and say, "What else is in here?" Because it helps.
It's like the anxiety of popcorn reading all over again.
Yeah, no. But it helps you get those creative juices flowing. It helps me understand how you're interpreting the room that we're in. It also helps me understand what kind of story you're trying to tell. And it's just a really collaborative world building thing. The funnest example that I have is like, I did this with a group and I was like, all right, so you ride into this town and, there's a very basic stuff like a well and some houses and some buildings and the floor is dirty and it smells like dust and old crops and then I was like, and what else is in here, Austin? And they were like, oh, and there's also scarecrows that seem to be following you every time that you move, every time you look away and look back. I was like, I'm into that. That's what's there. And so then we had a haunted village that I didn't plan. So it's all improv. It's super fun. So that was like the greatest example of that. I was like, this is cool. And you just wrote the story for me. So it's just one of those fun things. But this sort of segues us into retconning. When are you all comfortable with retconning? Because I am very much the type of DM that wants you to just, if you say it out loud, it happened. But I realize that is a little stringent, and I want to know what you guys think. I don't want someone to go through, I will say very clearly, I don't want someone to go through an experience, see the outcome, and go, actually, I didn't do that. Or stand idly by someone else experiencing something and they're kind of like in the room, but they haven't said that out loud until they find the outcome and they're like, oh, I'm actually outside. Like that's a retcon that I'm not cool with. So what about you?
I think to play off of something that Concho said earlier, that's kind of part of the magic, is making decisions and, you know, like fucking around and finding out. You know, if you fuck around at a 10 in D&D, you probably find out at a 12. So it's kind of like half the battle and half the magic of playing this game, I think, is doing things organically, letting them happen, and then just dealing with the consequences afterwards. And it does get messy, it seems, but that's why it's fun.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think building off of that, I mean, I think it's also everyone at the table being unafraid to voice concerns. Like if something happens within the game and afterwards being like, hey, I think this really is taking away, or was a decision that completely was just one of those that like everyone at the table is just like, that was kind of shitty and it fully ruined the fun or the like everything that we have at this table. Then I'm kind of like, okay, let's discuss this and then we can figure out a way to retcon it.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm fully the type of like, if you said you did this, that is what happens, live with the consequences. Because that's part of it's all a narrative game of like going forward and figuring out and how to like, oh, you fucked up, but now we're gonna figure out how you fix the fuck up. But
there's no
that's
save
usually
scumming
mine.
in D&D.
Yeah.
The only thing I could think of, because like I think I get what you're talking about in terms of retconning, is maybe if we've made a decision or something happened where it just doesn't go anywhere, and by I mean that like it's literally actively pulling the story back, where it's just like, okay, so there's this loose end that never got tied up because it's significantly becoming more and more irrelevant. Is there any way that we could try to like change that to be like, okay, so like someone made a decision back then and that part just like it just didn't go anywhere? Is there any way that we could try to change that to then make it relevant to benefit the story that's already happening? Or
I can see what you're saying, and that's very much like what I talked about in one of the podcast episodes, where you take a pinpoint and you move it in front of the party as if it was always in front of them. I'm fine with doing that. I already do that. It spoils a little bit of the magic for Dungeons and Dragons, but I do that. So if you feel like something isn't being touched on and you had a lot of connection to it, like, talk to me about it after game and like in between games, like maybe not during the game. And we can either figure out a way to make it relevant again, or I can do that. So I'm happy to do that.
Like we had to because I mean we had the city building and stuff, and there's a lot of like parts moving. Let's say like one of the I would say like economic things that we were probably talking about, or maybe potentially comes up as a problem, and then it was a problem, and then it suddenly stopped being a problem because we just didn't have it. We weren't talking about it in a way that made it relevant to everything else moving forward.
Yeah.
Is there any way can we like, okay, let's add a little bit more problem on that problem so that problem can be fixed, not irrelevant?
Yeah, and I think that that's something that could definitely be chatted about, like, between games, too. Like, when you're like, this is a problem, but it doesn't feel like it is as much of a problem as it should be. Just chat with me about it, and I'll be like, let's make it a problem. I'm down to make more problems for you.
It's like, I have to catastrophize. Why are we catastrophizing?
Yes, exactly. Okay, so I talked about retconning, player versus player. Let's talk about pets. Sometimes you guys like to have furry little critters, not like companions and not like monsters that you control, like as a Beastmaster or anything like that, but a pet, like a literal mouse, cat, dog. The way that I rule this is those animals are invincible, like cockroaches, as long as you do not start using them for your benefit. Once you start using them for your benefit, they can die.
Love it.
Not that I want to kill your lovely cats and dogs and animals. Like, I am not a murderer. But if you want just a cute little, if you just want a cute little mouse or something on your head that you talk to every once in a while, that's fine. But that second that you put that mouse in that room to come back to you so you can speak with animals and see everything that, nope, it's getting squashed. It has the opportunity to. I'm not definitely going to do that, but I'm just saying.
I guess the question with that is like, is it when it's out and about, say you sent something out into a room.
Okay.
In danger, comes back to you, still in danger forever afterwards?
Forever
because
afterward.
It can do things?
Yep.
Okay.
Just wondering. The second that you make that shift, you make the shift for the rest of the game for all the animals in the party.
Oh no.
For everyone's animal. Everyone's pets on board.
Yes. Oh. Because once one person does it, everyone's gonna be like, I send my bird. I send my cat.
It does start becoming like, oh, I have a familiar now.
Yes.
Like,
there's a difference between.
There's a slight amount of confidence, though, of you getting villainized for killing my pet.
I mean,
so I don't know.
I giveth and taketh away, but also, I'm not looking to kill your animals. Like, I'm not gonna be like they're in immediate danger all the time. It's very much like.
Do you guys have animals?
I don't actually. I think one person has a mouse. But. Oh. You say, but I'm pretty sure it's you. I'm pretty sure you have a mouse in your inventory, don't you?
Like, who can that be?
Maybe you didn't keep it, but I just saw you did. But anyway, so if you were to utilize your animals for your benefit, and they're not a familiar, they're just a pet, you are encroaching on familiar territory, and they could be killed. So, I don't want to kill your cats. I don't want to kill your
How
dogs.
do you feel about horses?
Also, if there's an opportunity to buy pets while we're out, I would like that at some point.
Yeah, no, there's pet stores in the world. So you were saying horses?
Yeah, I was asking you how you felt about horses as a joke.
Ah, I see. For Skyrim, I understand. But in the world of D&D, I would say if you're utilizing that horse as like a mode of transportation, it is under attack if you are too. But I also won't be like, they go and kill your horses, like.
And then leave.
Yeah, I try not to. I try so hard not to just have animal cruelty. But if that's where the story's going, that's where it's going. But I don't like describing it. I don't like doing it. But I mean, if a dragon is raining fire down onto you and you're riding your horse is also gonna get hurt. Okay.
Your mouse magically.
Yeah, your mouse, unless it is a little reconnaissance mouse, it is immune to fire and water and
invisibility
everything.
bubble
Horse
that
is just,
shows
like,
up around
just
it like
hell yeah.
Glinda.
praying in pain as the flames like take it, and the mouse is just like, I'm fucking here.
Chillin'.
Oh my goodness.
Squeak, squeak, cheese.
One thing that I did have the players do is fill out a safety form. This is one of the first things that I had you guys do to talk about topics that you don't want covered. So, in general, if one person mentioned a topic, it's not going to get covered at all. So, just know that you have that safety. However, that does not necessarily mean that another player might accidentally bring that up. So, is there any, to share with the group, is there any topics that we absolutely do not want covered? Like, you do not want anyone talking about it, thinking about it, trying to get to it, anything like that? Is there any topics that could be, and I think there's very obvious ones like rape and drug use, like active drug use versus someone being on drugs, and racism, slavery. These are things that I just don't cover because I don't feel comfortable telling stories like that. I also don't think that I'm the person to tell stories like that. And there's another thing, but I want to know, a sexual assault, and which is kind of in the line with rape. But are there any topics that you guys do not want covered? Like one of mine is cancer. I don't really tell stories where players or characters have cancer.
Pretty much covers everything that I would honestly avoid.
The extremes.
Yeah, because like I feel like character development requires some level of trauma. Do I feel like we should throw all the horrible stuff at them? No, but I feel like, and I don't know how far we can go into it, but if we have to discuss things like amputation, losing limbs, like our characters are going through like crazy stuff. So like if the story goes into like if Ire loses a limb, if the choices I led to would lead to a loss of a limb, I'm not expecting my arms and legs to be invincible because I feel uncomfortable with the idea of that. Because it's still for me, I can suspend disbelief. I'm not going to be in like real life like I lost a limb. My life.
I understand.
Like,
I understand.
I can for me at least, I feel like that part is kind of like where I draw the line with that part.
Yeah.
Like if we're going into body horror, that's a different story. I'm just like, I just want it to be like cartoony, like, oh no, your arm's gone.
Absolutely,
no.
ham bone sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like you don't want a description of gratuitous violence of your arm being sawed off. You just want, oop, it's gone and there's a bone in there. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I feel that.
So I just want there to be realistic, consequences.
Yeah.
But maybe let's not like go into like, let's talk about like the fact that there's still a vein connected and the arms
understood.
Like, no, sorry,
It's too much. Totally.
I'm like, you want me to
flesh tears.
Yeah, and I want to respect that because that's an ick for a lot of people too. So I especially for a while I am. Actually, I'll talk about that in a second. Everyone else continue with your topics. It's a little bit of a topic change.
I remembered my ick that I need to say to people. If no one could make the sound of hawking a loogie, that would be great because I will gag.
Sure.
And that is just an issue that I have.
Understood.
So.
And I'm glad you said it because now we know. So no one can.
No booger speak.
No booger speak.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Any of the mucusy stuff, minimal.
Do you also have puke sound? Same
no,
ick for that?
That's fine.
Okay.
No, it's a very different throat
That's my
thing
favorite.
versus yeah.
Okay. Anyone else?
I'm okay with talking about it to an extent, but I don't like going too far into like a character that has committed suicide or is suicidal. Like, I get that it's, we may come across someone like that.
Yeah.
But like delving too far into it, I don't like to do too much.
Okay.
I don't want to know about like what they look like afterwards or that sort of thing.
Like if you were to find someone, you would be comfortable hearing that they ended their own life, but you would not be comfortable hearing
I could know
more
like
detail.
what they did, but I don't want to know like they're swinging.
Yeah, understood.
Like
no,
I don't.
that's super serious and totally fair.
It's the same vein of like the cartoony like bone sticking in the arm. It's just like very much like they were there, covered in a tasteful cloth, and we never spoke about them again.
Sure, I'm fine with that. So do you also have, speaking of suicide, do you also have sort of an ick or uncomfortability with going to a town? This is actually portrayed in a lot of major media. Going into a town where they have heads on spikes and bodies hanging to show signs to other towns that, like, this is dangerous and we're taking over and we're spiking all of these people so that you know we're dangerous, sort of thing.
Not personally.
Okay.
For me, it's just very much the context of suicide and then, like,
Okay.
whatever thought process they went through to get there. Like, I don't want to delve
Yeah.
that far into it. I'm okay with, like, this is something that happens, and, you know, maybe we missed something significant and this happened.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
I'm okay with that. I just don't want the nitty gritty.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's
feel like
I think it's the
we're
lack
covering.
of details on things because
I'm
like
happy
heads
to
on
do
spikes,
that.
fine. Describing specific details of things
Is difficult. Yeah.
it's like
Feel like-
making it more real is
Yeah.
the line.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like
Again,
the one scene
cartoony.
in Game of Thrones, like spoilers, I guess. Season 1 when season 2 when Joffrey made Sansa look at Ned Stark's head.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's the difference between there being a bunch of just faceless heads versus the zoom in and you can see the face. Like,
No, it's
I don't
one of the,
mind
yeah.
hearing there's heads on spikes, but when you get into like it's this person's face and their face look like this, I'm just like, okay,
Mhm.
let's go back to a little bit more miraculous
It's
ladybug.
also, is it a character
not-
that we know
not-
or characters
not
that we
body
don't?
horror, yeah.
Right. Okay,
I'm just
I
like,
can
I just-
understand that.
I want
Uh,
magical girls and sparkle. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean that leads us to be a little bit more of a PG-13 versus R, because what I'm hearing is that we want more of violence is happening, but it's not being lingered on and described to the point where we're grossed out. Like
I think
Saw
I'm a thriller
movies,
over
no
horror
thanks.
person.
Thriller over
Like
horror.
thriller, drama, great. Horror
Could be a little slasher.
It gets murky.
murder.
depends.
Yeah, we're not
Yeah.
trying to make
Yeah.
gore
I
porn
was like,
here.
slasher's not so bad. It's the other stuff.
I can understand. Okay, yeah,
I can handle Scream.
yeah.
Yeah.
Scream.
I will
Because there
run
is gonna be
upstairs when the
violence.
murder's in
You're
the house.
obsessed with her, and you were obsessed with her daughter.
Because there is going to be violence. There is going to be questionable people who make questionable decisions and are angry and scary. And there's going to be people who overbear with their body and size. And that's just natural throughout. Like, orcs are huge, and they're just going to be naturally overbearing. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we're leading to a situation where someone is uncomfortable. However, if we are leading to a situation where anyone is uncomfortable, I have just an automatic 100%, we will move on from the topic rule. Like, if any single person makes a hand signal, and I want to know what you guys want the hand signal to be, I usually just do like a little finger versus like raising your hand for a question. Do like a little finger up, and then if
But I do this a lot.
yeah, so
Yeah,
if that's the case,
yeah,
like
no.
I
If-
kind of do like I'm gonna talk next is like
if that's the case,
do
then
it.
we should pick something new. Like,
Yeah.
because I want it to be noticed, because it could be a signal to the other people. It could be a signal to me. It could be a signal to anyone. And I just want everyone to be looking at each other. Just a little.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like that
I don't know.
works because I
Yeah.
don't feel like this
I
would
don't do
come up
this
enough
ever
in
really,
conversation
so.
to be misconstrued.
Yeah.
Little X.
Yeah, if someone's just holding this, like, I feel like there's no.
No one talk about anything. I'm in the constant state of no. I understand.
See, if orcs come into the room, I will be doing this.
Mhm.
Hey.
Okay, I mean, I'm happy to do just like a little finger X, and if
Yeah.
anyone does it,
I agree. Like, if we do any other hand motions, I am very much like this and this, and I don't want it to be like, oh, was that the signal? I'm like,
no,
no,
it needs to be
no.
super distinct. Little X. If anyone
Uh-huh.
does it, whoever is talking must move on, and that is the respect that we have to give each other with triggers and everything that happens. If something is just a little too gross or a little too triggering or is genuinely making you not want to play or back up or anything that makes you unsafe, your safety signal is a little X. So anyone can do it, and I encourage you to do
Little
it. Don't feel too scared. Like, if the story's really good and you don't want to ruin it, doesn't matter. Your safety is more important than the overarching thing that's happening. So, Are there any other topics or triggers or anything that we do not want discussed with each other or described or anything like that? And of course, if it ever comes up and you don't know it now, you have your X signal. Like, it could be anything.
At the moment, no.
Okay. So, So the primary adventuring environments is sort of something that I wanted to discuss. I want to take everyone sort of through their typical anime arcs where they go through the snow region, the sand region, the forest region, have their arcs, and I think that's going to be super fun. So we're going to touch on at least one of everything. Icy, watery, and you'll understand more as the beginning of the game happens. You'll kind of get that this is a pretty sectioned sort of game, but the major threats and the main story themes, I would say that the major threat is going to be several different minor B-Begs. I say B-Beg versus BBEG, I'm sorry. And there is the potential for an overarching one, but I think it's gonna be super fun. It's a little bit of an investigative story. It's a little bit of a thriller. It's a little bit of mystery and intrigue. So I'm excited to see how you guys roleplay and get yourselves through these things that I'm sort of planning. There's some silly side quest things that come up. There's some serious side quest things that come up, and you have the right and ability to look at a quest, and even the main quest, and be like, I don't want to do that. And you just walk away and go do something else. So you're more like, I'm not trying to railroad you. There will be options everywhere, but there is sort of the overarching story that is happening, whether you are doing it or not. Let's see, primary adventuring environments, I already said that one. Accessibility. I do try to make my characters of different accessibility. There will be deaf characters, blind characters, wheelchaired characters, amputated characters, different sort of ailments and things like that, because I like to tell stories where everyone is powerful and everyone is capable, and their ailments or their disability is actually something that brings heightened and more strength to the story overarching, and I think that there's a benefit to having all sorts of people in a game. Let's see, you guys' character starting level is 3, so if you're not 3, make yourself 3. And we've already talked about how all the characters are going to be connected, but I will read through the little intro that I gave you guys at the very beginning. I gave it a long time ago. So, literally in August or something, I said, so all of you are going to be starting at the School of the Magi, which is it is the most highly regarded school in the realm. So like the entire world that you are on. They created powerful magic and like things like create and destroy water, good berry, and other support spells. They like just created those things. So if you do those spells, you know where they came from. And the professors there, they do like research and that just has bettered everyone's lives. And you all have been hired separately by the Grand Magi himself, and you all found a bounty letter, whether it was given to you, whether you found it, whether it was sent directly to you, and you accepted this job through letter, and then you received a hiring letter where you got the names of each other that you'd like, this is going to be your group and I'll meet you guys here on this day at this time, sort of thing. And it's basically presented as a component fetching quest, but it was intriguing to you guys that it was signed by the actual Grand Magi versus the administration team. And so this piqued your interest. You took the job for whatever reason that you decided to get the job. And then when you guys were making your backstory, as we ended our sessions, it all sort of ended on you guys getting the job. So I'm very excited about that. Let's see. Do you guys have any questions about that I just said? Cool. I think we've talked enough about it, but highly regarded, super cool school that I've been building that you might spend 5 seconds in or 5 hours. I have no idea. Let's see. And you guys already built your characters. And the next thing that I want to talk about is house rules. I only have a few. One of them is that I do this thing where if you want to have a health potion in the middle of battle, you can take a bonus action to roll for it, or you can take your full action to take the full healing from the potion. So
I like that.
it's like a little drippies, like you're trying to go fast, you only get a little bit of potential for all of it. Or you sit and you take your turn to heal yourself the max of the health potion. And
How does that work with administering to someone?
Same thing.
It's kind of my question too.
So we can
Like, did you
administer
chuck
as
it
like
at
a
somebody?
bonus?
You can chuck it at somebody, or you can put it in their mouth or administer it in any way for a bonus action, or your full action to give them the full healing. So you can essentially give up your turn to heal somebody if you have healing potions. However, unlike Baldur's Gate 3, it does not have... This is just not a thing in Dungeons & Dragons. Baldur's Gate 3 is very cool. You can throw potions on the ground and it'll hit an AoE. That is not a thing. It does have to
You
be...
can do that.
It does have to be drank. You have to drink it. So you can throw it
You
to
gotta put it in
them.
your mouth.
You have to put it in their mouth. They have to drink it. So whether that be your bonus action to make them drink it or whatever, but yeah.
Here comes the airplane.
Yeah. For encumbrance, it is so you sort of have unlimited encumbrance. However, you can't just carry ladders and boats and a mule. Like, you can't just carry a house on your back. That doesn't make sense. But
Could you carry it in a bag of holding?
you can carry whatever would fit in a
You can
bag of
fit it through
holding. In a bag
the
of
mouth
holding. If you
of
can
the
fit it
bag.
through the hole of the bag, it'll go in the bag.
Come on, Mary Poppins. Like, oh,
Yes.
I have a boat.
Has a big mouth.
It's a foldable boat.
Yeah, it folds, but it doesn't fit in the.
It's a inflatable raft, just like.
It's a pool floaty.
Also, I guess with alignment, I don't care what your alignment is. I think alignment is a good means to help build your character, but you don't have to stay within the means of your alignment for the game. Like, I'm not going to stop you and be like, excuse me, you're neutral good. That's not a neutral good thing. Like, that's not fun. I'm just going to let you do what you want, and your alignment will ebb and flow as it does.
I'm the
people
DM
do.
who would actually do that like a long time ago. We're like, you said you were this though, and I'm just like, it was a phase, mom.
Yeah, exactly. I think the last thing is I do 2 more things. Sorry. I have a health regeneration. If 12 hours goes by, you heal up half of your health just by regenerating your health like through time, but it's to a max of half your health. So like if you are at half, it won't regenerate anymore.
Okay, I see.
Okay.
And but if you're like at 1 over a course of 12 hours of traveling and continuing forward, you could either heal yourself, or you could hopefully not have another encounter between then and 12 hours from now. And the math for that is just your health divided by 12. So 1 hour is that little piece. So each hour you'll go up however much that is. And let's see, what was the other thing? Oh, inspiration. I give it out mostly to people who remember small details. But I do like to give out inspiration a lot. I try to give it out at least once per game. So you can stack them up to 6, but you can only use them once per day.
Okay.
So you can have 6 days worth of inspiration, essentially. And inspiration is a reroll. Boop. On anything. It could be a hit, it could be an attack, it could be damage, it could be just 1 reroll a day. So I like that. I think that's super
So you can
fun.
call it after you've already
Yes.
seen
After
your...
you've already seen it, you can reroll it. Yes.
Cool.
It's like a little... That's a little Baldur's Gate-y, but I thought of it first, so...
I'm down.
I know there's something else. Do you guys have any house rules or anything that you have played with that you really enjoyed or you want to suggest for more fun?
Give me
Now
all
that
your
you've said
money.
it, they've all
What?
vanished.
You said, "Give me all your money."
Yeah.
That's a good house rule. We give all of our money to Thicky.
I like being a pillow
Spend
princess.
it still?
Can you what? You spend the money that
I
you gave them?
still spend the money I give you?
No.
Oh,
I sometimes enjoy having people roll a d10 to figure out if an NPC is hot.
I love this.
that's actually cool.
I have
I'm
a scale of 1 to 10.
I'm so down to do that.
And either it's either
That's
kind of like the
amazing.
DM rolls it and
Okay.
it's,
I'm
that's
into
how
it.
hot they are, or we
Yeah.
can all roll it and it's how hot our character thinks that they are.
I like
'cause,
that. I like the how
attraction is
hot
preference.
your character thinks they are because of preference.
Mhm.
I'm down to do that. You don't have to do it for every character, but any
Yeah.
character that you
But if we're
think
curious,
any character that you're curious about, I'm down for you to roll a d10. 10 being hottest of hot, 1 being, oh god, that might be a hag sort of situation. I'm down
See,
for that.
I'm so petty that I will fully bring out like Excel sheet on just how all the
of
roles
hot
went.
NPCs find their
Like,
average
how did we feel
hotness.
about this character? I'm like,
Amazing.
oh, well. We went right here
Amazing.
and rolled and they were a 7.
Oh my god. That's
my
so
gosh.
good.
I don't know if it's necessarily a house rule, but it's something where like if me or someone other character specifically says like I want my character to walk away and like be not found, like if they're hinting at that like they want to fully be alone, I usually try to ask that people respect that like I just said I fully want to be not found, and then someone's like, well, I want to go look for them.
Okay.
Like understanding context clues, because like I do love being able to be like, you know what, I think my character goes over to the river where he's by himself, which is different than versus like he walks into the woods and doesn't want anyone to find him.
Yeah.
And just like listening to what and respecting that if your character just wants to be gone for a
Yeah.
little bit or whatever.
I think it is only fair to respect the wishes of someone's like scene that they essentially want to do.
Or if someone's like, I pull this person aside just to have a conversation with them, not to then be like, I heard that, right? And like,
Yeah.
well, no, I specifically made it an active point to be like, I want to talk to this person specifically.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I will respect that for sure. Oh, I remember the last thing. So for initiative, I do roll initiative. However, I do narrative initiative. Where, let's say, the barbarian is gonna go sprinting in, but they rolled last on initiative, and somehow they hit him last, even though they ran in first. So if someone's like, I'm going in first, and I sprint in, they are first on initiative, of course, whatever the monsters are, and then everyone else will roll. Unless you
Okay.
guys have decided, I'm staying back and I'm going to be last, then you're last. So you can sort of choose that if you have the opportunity to. If it's like a surprise attack or you're just getting ambushed or whatever the case may be, like everyone's rolling. But if you have like a plan of attack, we respect that and we put that in like the row that you guys plan. I just think it just makes more sense. I've had a lot of times where I personally played a barbarian and all the magic users hit it before I hit it, and I got the last hit on it. But it was just weird.
Yeah.
Okay. The last thing. Yeah.
Random cleric question.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the time for. Okay, so like blessings for clerics. What are those? Do those count as anything? Is it like I just get one a day?
What does your spell
Is it a
say?
spell?
I'm pretty sure bless is a spell. Let me see.
Let me pull
No,
you
well,
up.
not for bless. No, for like I have vigilant blessing.
Oh,
It's like a separate thing
vigilant blessing. Let's
because it's
Is that like a
where I can
trait?
give someone an advantage on initiative. I think is the only thing it does.
Oh,
But
it's
I
a
know
Twilight
that there's other
domain.
blessings
Okay.
like that. that
As an
aren't-
action, you can give one creature you touch, including yourself, advantage on the next initiative roll. Let me see. How many
I think
times?
Because is
you
it just
can
kind
do
of like a
it
thing I can just
forever. It just goes away if you do it on someone else.
I see. Yeah.
It only works for you and one person you're touching, I think. Oh, just one person.
Yeah,
until
so-
you
Yeah,
use it
just
again.
one
I would
person.
say treat it like a concentration spell. If you decide to change who you want this advantage to be on, it goes away. Like, you can't just give everyone advantage and then it just is. So, like, if you wanted to give yourself
I just didn't
advantage,
know
but
if
then
that
you
was
wanted to
like
give the
a-
next person advantage, it looks like you could just do it. I don't see anything that says, like,
Yeah.
Okay. So like not a limit to how many per day.
yeah, it
If
doesn't
we had
look
multiple
like it.
meals a day, which is not necessarily.
Yeah, it says
high
this,
I don't
this
see a
benefit
thing on
ends
it.
immediately after the roll or if you use this again. So,
Okay.
it seems like you could just do it, which is awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. But I would say that it would have to be on your turn. that you would change the target. So it's not like, all right, now that it's Austin's turn, Austin gets advantage. And now that it's Thicky's turn, Thick gets advantage. That works. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to talk about is death and resurrection. I am not the type of DM that likes to kill the players. Like, I don't try. I'm not the type of person. I want to tell a story, and I think death enhances a story only a little bit and only when it's really impactful and if it actually makes sense. So, like, I don't plan on murdering you to monsters. However, if you guys make decisions that are stupid over and over and over again and completely disregard every warning that characters give you, that I give you directly, and you die, I won't feel bad.
Fair.
Okay.
Told you so.
However, if one of you
What did
guys
I say?
do die, resurrection is available within as long as you guys have the components. It's the only spell that I make you use components for, because death is a story beat. Like, it is not just something like, oh, you died and we resurrected you and now you're fine. It's like, I want you to sit in that sadness. It's one of those sitting in the moment feelings. So I want it to be more of a quest sort of feeling. However, that means that you guys could go to someone who could do it, or you can go and buy the components, or you can go and do whatever it is that you would like to do for the resurrection. But I just think...
What is it? It's 300 gold worth of diamonds?
It is.
Is that resurrection?
I think so, yeah.
Revivify.
Let's see.
The one time I've had someone ever do resurrection is because we went to the Feywilds. She accidentally got hitched, and her now then dead husband was like, "Hey, I might have a chance to like come back into the mortal plane." She's just like, "Well, if you resurrect our friend when you come back, I'll allow you to get your title back, but until then, you're just going to be human." And he was like, "I'm arrogant, fine, whatever." And then he resurrected her friend. It was wild. She's still married to him.
So
It's weird.
there's
I don't like
two
him.
that I can think of. There's resurrection and then there's revivify. So revivify is the lower level one, I believe. Yes, revivify is 3rd level and resurrection is 7th level. So with revivify, you return to life with 1 hit point, and it can't be used if the creature had died of old age and it does not restore missing body parts, things like that. Resurrection restores everything. Like, let's say you had an amputated arm, a ham bone arm, and that would then come back because you were fully being resurrected. However, it can't
Revivify
happen.
is also 1 minute, I think.
It is 1 minute.
You gotta
However,
use it fast.
However, I will say that if you have Gentle Repose, you can use Revivify specifically and Resurrection, but Resurrection doesn't matter because you could do that to up to a century dead. You can use it for up to a week. So as long as you're continuously utilizing your
Gently
concentration on Gentle Repose for a week, you can bring them back with Revivify after that week or throughout that week. So that's
Me looking to see if I have gentle repose.
yeah. Someone just changes
reading
their
what the
spell
spell
out.
Me
Gentle-
not having any magic.
You're like, I don't have to worry about it.
Nope.
Gentle
never.
Repose.
Technically, I could
Yeah.
have it, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna take it.
Yeah. So
Oh,
Gentle
I have a lot
Repose
of ice.
keeps a dead body from being able to be turned undead, which means that they are no longer capable of being resurrected unless it's a necromancer raising undead. So We don't want undead friends with us. Okay, so that's the end of my checklist for session 0. How are we feeling? Do we have more questions? Do we have more things we want to talk about?
I don't think I do.
I don't know.
Oh, I'm excited. So we're gonna start our first game. But thank you guys so much for watching our session 0. I hope it was helpful for you as a DM or a player trying to figure out what a session 0 even fucking is. But yeah, we'll see you guys in the first episode. Bye.
Bye.